It took me 10 years to realize what I'm about to tell you, and it's so obvious once you hear it. And I've wasted so much of my precious time on doing it wrong. A friend of mine recently told me that he learned from a high-level entrepreneur that you should only think in a 10-year timeline or a 30-day timeline. Anything in between is a waste of time. And I've heard something similar probably a couple of years ago when I asked Rian Doris, a friend of mine, a colleague in the YouTube space. He makes videos about flow states and productivity. And I asked him, hey, what are your goals this year? And it was about, I think it was the middle of the year. And he was like, you know what? I actually stopped planning. And I'm like, really? You? The productivity guy? You stopped planning? What does that mean? Tell me more. Hold on. Stop. Tell me more, please. And he said, yeah, it's like most of the time you plan something past 90 days, so many things change. It's just a waste of time. And the moment he said that, I immediately knew it was true. And then recently hearing this 10-year versus 30-day timeline, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So essentially what you do is you have the 10-year time frame to be the North Star, right? To set the direction, to know where you want to end up. This is where you think big. And the 30 days is where you make things very practical and tangible. So what we need to do in the next 30 days to be on the right course for those 10 years. It's almost like you have it as this North Star, the 10 years, and then the 30 days are like these micro adjustments that are like you're just inching yourself forward. And it's essentially you have about 100 or 120 of those 30-day chunks. It's like a 30-day time frame is almost, it's less than 1% of the 10 years. And I immediately looked for ways to disprove it. I'm like, that can't be right. There are plenty of companies that, they set certain targets where they're like, okay, we want to capture this market. That's going to take a lot more time. And I do think it's true probably for bigger organizations that can do more long-term planning because they have a bit more stability. They're a bit less nimble, a bit less flexible, like we are with our small, like maybe 10-person team businesses or whatever, right? But even a company like SpaceX, the first objective was to create a reusable rocket. And of course, they didn't do that in 30 days, but I think that's all they focused on. They didn't spend much time on, okay, but then once we get there, what do we do from there? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think they knew how to monetize once they had a working rocket. I think that's something that they just pushed off into the future because they knew, okay, we're going to be able to do something. Let's just for now focus on making it happen. And of course, again, that took way more than 30 days. But I think where you actually spend your time should just be in the 30-day time frame. And when I look back at all the times when I planned a year, I planned maybe a 3-year timeline, or I planned a quarter, things change so much that the hour that I spent in, the 3 hours, maybe 5 hours sometimes, where I really went deep and brainstormed and looked at the vision, it was a waste of time. Either because it didn't end up happening at all, or I didn't need to plan it. And when I look back, like let's say 1 year in the past, a lot of the changes that I ended up making, the pivots, the adjustments that I made to my plan, I didn't need to make them ahead of time. I could literally just look 30 to 90 days into the future. I like the idea of 30 to 90 days. They would have still happened had I just focused on the short term. And of course, there's the trap of thinking too short term, and you just, you're never actually setting something up long term. But that's what I think the 10-year time frame is for. And maybe it doesn't have to be 10 years. Maybe it could be 5 years, whatever your timeline is, right? But I think you need to have one long-term time frame and then one that is short-term, nimble in the next 30 to 90 days. When I look back, a lot of the pivots that I made because of the long-term planning and the thinking of, will I end up where I want to be in the next year or 2 years or 3 years if I keep doing this thing? A lot of those pivots actually didn't need to happen. Because had I just continued on a 30 to 90 day time frame and made small adjustments there that would get me closer to a 5 to 10 year vision, I would be exactly where I am right now. And this is the most painful thing. The cost of switching is incredibly high. It is one of the biggest costs you'll ever pay. It's when you're building something for 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, and then you make a big pivot. Whether it's you pivot away from the entire business or you go away from the core of the business, because you're essentially starting a lot of things from scratch. Not everything. You still have the skills, you have a lot of the connections and whatnot, but you lose a ton of momentum. And I think whatever you do, the biggest cost to avoid is the switching cost. Whatever it takes. You must build something that you know you can build for the next 10 to 30 years. Because when you do that, results are exponential, especially past the 10-year line. The amount of chewing that you did on certain problems, the amount of skills, experience, connections that you've built, people can't even compete with you because you've been doing it for 10 years. And I'm not talking about 10 years where you're just doing the same thing over and over again and you essentially repeat the first year 10 times. But no, you're really pushing, you're growing, you're expanding, you're challenging yourself. And whatever you do, make sure that the business that you're building right now is your forever business. And if you're currently in a business that you absolutely hate, you've only been doing it for a couple of years, 3 years, and you know you're not going to do this long term, it's better to call it quits sooner than later, or sell the business or something, right? That's what I did with my e-commerce business. It was definitely the right move in my case because it was so far off from what I wanted to do. But even that I would avoid if you could just make a small pivot in the way that you approach things, in the way that you handle your day-to-day operations, the core work that you do on a day-to-day basis that actually creates a competitive advantage in your business. Make sure that that aligns with your nature and make sure that you turn that business into a business that you love so much, it can turn into your forever business. If you would like help with this, making sure that your business aligns with your nature and it can turn into your forever business and you can build it over the next 10 to 30 years, please reach out to me. Let's have a call. Join the school community. We have a one-on-one call. We can do a deep dive and we can do an audit to make sure that what you do is sustainable and you can think in 10-year timelines to begin with. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll be here at Lake Tahoe for the next week. It's going to be fun. So stay tuned.